Hello there, everyone, and hello, Babula.
Good morning, Sheryl.
Yes, good morning. Well, whenever people watch this, we don't.
Whenever they're watching.
Good morning, good noon, or night. So, hi, everyone, and we are back to talk to you this time about the full moon in Pisces. And if you're feeling a little bit dreamy, maybe that's having an effect on you. So, take it away, Babula. Tell people why that might be happening.
Okay. Well, as people have been watching this or aware of the movement of the planets and so on, we're coming towards the end of the sign of Virgo. The sun is making its way, through the last few days of Virgo, and then on the 23rd, of course, it'll go into Libra, which we'll talk about. So as the sun gets to 28 degrees of Virgo on the 21st, the moon will be at 28 degrees of Pisces, exactly opposite. So that will mark the full moon. And so it's a full moon in Pisces. We could call it, the Pisces Virgo full moon, sun opposite the moon. So what happens when there's a full moon in the sign of Pisces? Yes, vagueness, dreaminess, feeling a bit spaced out, feeling really tired, feeling really sensitive, bursting into tears and going, oh, I don't know why I'm so upset. Or maybe you do. But we find it more difficult to sort of hold back the tide often of feelings of emotions or overwhelm or sensitivity. Things can feel like it's all just too much. I can't handle it anymore, whatever it is, whether it's, taking care of your children or what's going on in the world or pressures at work or health issues, whatever that might be, we can just feel overwhelmed and over it.
Yeah, so the moon is it's water, very watery, and Pisces is a water sign.
Yeah,
and I was reading that, and of course Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which is very watery. So there's a lot of like you say, ebb and flow going on. And I was wondering when I was sort of looking into this, thinking, how do people who need something solid to grasp onto, how do they sort of maneuver on the ocean, over these waves when there is nothing to grasp onto? And in fact, actually, this whole situation might be forcing some people to let go of some of that and just go with their intuition rather than the old intellect.
Exactly. Because in Virgo, of course, we want to analyze and have data and solid information that we can act on and make choices and decisions about. I mean, that's one of the great things about Virgo, is that capacity to analyze and discriminate. In Pisces, you're absolutely right. It's all feeling, intuition, our sense of things. And it is the sign, it's the last and final sign of the zodiac. And what that represents is, this is a sign in which things have to be surrendered, let go of, emptied out. People with Pisces energy strong in their chart, whether it's their sun or their moon or their rising, or they've just got a bunch of planets in this sign, will recognize that there's a lot of letting go that happens here. It's a sort of emptying out in preparation for the new phase that begins when we move into Aries. So tiredness is very, very common, and there isn't anything to really hold on to. If there's anything to hold on to in Pisces, it is a sense of trust, faith, intuition, going with the flow, following the signs. And one of my favorite words for this sign, I think, is fluid.
Yes.
We have to be fluid and allow. One of my favorite art teachers, she runs a course and her work is called The Art of Allowing, and I just thought of that because that's what this is about, allowing. And it's not giving in to something or something else or someone else. It's not a kind of giving into and giving up. It's a deeper sense on a soul, spiritual level of deeply surrendering and allowing a process to unfold and take place. It's not easy for we humans. We're so trained and programmed to be logical and rational and be in control and so on.
Yeah, what I'm getting an image of while you're talking about that is, being in a canoe riding the rapids. And in those situations, you don't have all the time to think about which is the best decision. Should I go left of this rock or right of this rock? And you have to let go of that and, tune into something different.
Exactly.
Yep, because a Pisces is like being that dreamy sort of sign. It also goes out there and connects with higher sources of information. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
And we have to be intuitive while we're in that canoe, and stop. You don't have time to use this. You have to let go and just use the old intuition. Yeah.
Exactly. And you're literally just feeling your way and completely in the moment. So it's very in the moment, in the now. And I love that image of, the canoe on the rapids, on the water. Water just keeps moving. And, there are 3 water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Pisces is mutable water, whereas Cancer is cardinal water, Scorpio is fixed water. Mutable water, Pisces, is that's water that's always moving, like a river, like the seas. There, even if the ocean looks still, we know there are deep currents moving. There's waves on this. It's always moving, and that's what Pisces is. It's fluid. It's flowing. It's moving. And if we're trying to hold on to something, and grip it and keep it as it is, or as it was, or as we want to be, that's exhausting, actually.
And yet, being a water sign, and the movement of water always takes the path of least resistance.
It does.
So there is and that's sort of telling, isn't it, for those times that we're living in at the moment, is about there's a lot of resistance in people on different ideas and opinions and that sort of thing, on all different ways, no matter what those opinions or beliefs are. There's been a lot of resistance to changing those things, to not looking out of the box, to not taking the blinkers off and going, okay, maybe I've got a different perspective. And we touched on that last time we did.
Yeah.
So this might help some of that resistance sort of soften a little bit.
Yes, softening is very, very Pisces, because it's very easy for us when we're being super analytical and rational and logical, or keep trying to be in control. We can kind of harden, can't we? We kind of toughen up and harden ourselves. And sometimes circumstances require that. Of course they do. But sometimes we just need to let go, soften, lie down, have a sleep on the couch, just to stop. Stop. And that's what I mean by kind of giving in and surrendering. It's not surrendering to somebody else and giving up your power. It's not that. It's something else. It's what you were saying before. It's really tuning in to what's going on inside of you, like your soul, your body might be just saying, oh God, would you please just stop and rest? And we're not listening. If we're listening, we go, I need to rest now.
Yeah.
Or I need to put this down now, or I need to go and sit under a tree now, or go to the beach, or whatever it is, or just go to bed for an hour, Yes. And of course that idea can be taken to a much bigger level. So if somebody is a Pisces or has strong Pisces themes in their chart, that's a theme in their life. So we're just talking about these few days. And of course the moon's in Pisces 2 days prior to the exact full moon, because it's full at 28 degrees, which is almost at the end. And on that point, this is interesting, because when we get to the end of a sign, 29 degrees is called the anaretic degree in astrology, and it's very potent. So this full moon's at 28 degrees. But not only that, Pisces is the last sign. So it's like this full moon's at the last degree or two of the entire zodiac. So that is a wonderful invitation for us to... It doesn't mean everyone's going to just stop and rest and take the day off, although that would be wonderful. It's like an inner state, isn't it? It's an inner state of surrender, softening, allowing. Sometimes it reminds me of the, when people talk about the 12-step process for addiction, which by the way is a Pisces issue, addiction, one of those steps is surrendering to a higher power. And that's a really important piece of the process, realizing that it's not all up to me to manage it.
Yes.
We connect to something else, like you were saying in the canoe, connecting to something else to guide us and to have faith and trust in that. It's a big ask for we humans, we're not trained and encouraged to be like that.
I think it's something that you have to come to yourself, depending on circumstances. And I went through that myself when I had a chronic illness where, I came close to death and actually had a near-death experience in that illness. And I had to come to a point where I did come to a point where I said, I can no longer do this. I'm putting my health, because I was exploring a lot of alternative health things to help my health. And I just came to a point where I said, I can no longer do this myself. I'm handing my future of life over to a higher power. I fully and totally surrender to that, whatever the outcome is. And sometimes those really difficult, challenging challenges are what the clarion call to surrender, aren't they?
Yes. And then in that moment or very soon after, extraordinary things can happen. You might even call them miracles, because we've let go at a deep level, and that's what you experience. I've heard people say that many different times at a really critical point, an illness, a car accident, something close to death, a near death. There is that sense of, I can't manage this anymore myself.
Yeah.
What is that saying? Let go and let God.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
of course, sorry.
I was going to say, it worked for me, but sometimes letting go and let God actually means for some people to actually let go of life and let themselves rest, which is what you were talking about before, is to let go because and rest in death for some people, because that's what that energy is about. That's the best thing for the higher purpose of that soul.
That's right. And it is so interesting because the Virgo Pisces axis, those two signs, they're working they have an energetic connection. And so Virgo often manifests through illness. It can also be those expressed through workaholism and just, working to the point where there is no rest. There is no Piscean space and time to just relax and let go and chill and take some time out. It's just constant, nose to the grindstone, in that Virgo. And so it's always about that balance and integration. And what you were saying is so right. In Virgo, we do everything we can to maintain good health. There's an important piece of that, which is a deeper surrender, on a soul spiritual level.
Yeah.
Now,
can I just ask you a question before?
Yeah.
I was reading that this full moon in Pisces relates back to the new moon in Pisces in March last year. Can you explain a bit of that for people and me?
Yes, I forget what degree that was. It would have been earlier in Pisces, in the sign. I've forgotten what degree, but the new moon in Pisces is like the seeding point of the Pisces phase. And 6 months later, when the full moon is in Pisces, it's like that's the culmination of that phase. If we think of a new moon, full moon cycle, so this is going on all throughout the year, with the different lunar cycles and lunations. So yes, and so, of course, when the new moon was in Pisces, the sun and the moon were both in Pisces together. And this is the point now where the sun is in Virgo and the moon is in Pisces. So it's bringing that whole Piscean theme to its full expression. And I am seeing signs of, many people are seeing and understanding that what's going on in the world or in their lives, a big part of this story and situation is spiritual as well as, earthly and worldly and physical, isn't it? It's a hugely spiritual process that we're all going through.
Yeah, I think it's the sorting of the chaff from the wheat.
Yeah, which is Virgo.
Yeah, and people standing behind that.
Yeah.
Standing in that sorting process.
That's right. So in Virgo, we're hands-on, we do what we can, which is what they say in the 12th step, isn't it? Like get really clear, clean up your act, make some decisions and choices. And the Pisces part of it is letting go, surrendering to a higher power, knowing that we can't do it all on our own.
Yeah. And I think that we were always on this path in that situation way before the pandemic.
Yes.
But what the pandemic did was it concentrated that process. Yes. It hothoused that process.
Yes.
So people had to then get on, pull your fingers.
That's right. It's really like it's accelerated it big time, hasn't it?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah. It's like the biggest spiritual retreat we've ever been on, and we're all here together on the same retreat.
Yeah, the global retreat.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Amazing.
Interesting.
So that full moon is on the 21st to 28th. And so, for anybody who has planets in those last few degrees of Pisces or Virgo, and also Sagittarius, Gemini, because that's the whole mutable, they're the four mutable signs, will particularly, feel the full moon. And very commonly at full moon, people don't sleep well. They feel a bit, particularly with Pisces, a bit, overwhelmed. So the energy really elevates, doesn't it? It's peaking and so the 2 days before the moon's in Pisces, but then the full moon itself occurs. And let me just check to see the exact time. This is on the east coast of Australia. It's around 10 o'clock in the morning is the moment of the full moon, which of course we won't see it at that time, but we'll certainly see it on the night of the 20th and the night of the 21st. She'll be very, very, very big and bright. So
it's actually on the 21st.
Yeah, it's on the morning of the 21st is the exact time of that moment of the exact full moon. So if it's in the realms of possibility, get yourself near some water. I mean, what a perfect time to just be near water, a river, a creek, a lake. The sea, of course, is ideal. And if that's not doable, fill up your bathtub and have a beautiful bath and just soak in the waters.
And actually, I was just thinking for people who might have a creative block, is to put a bowl of water out under the full moon overnight and have it charged with that and then drink that water to help.
Wonderful idea. Absolutely.
Block that creativity. Absolutely
fantastic. And it's such a beautiful symbol for Pisces and all the water signs. It's literally water. And, how clean and pure is our water? And, water observes, as the wonderful Dr. Emoto did all that amazing work with frozen water crystals and showed us how water absorbs energy and thoughts and ideas and emotions. And what are we putting into our water? What water are we drinking? What's our relationship with water like? Yeah. So be near bodies of water is like on the earth, Virgo, and near water, if that's doable.
The other thing, though, with Pisces is about things suppressed or not suppressed, hidden. Yeah. So with the full moon shining on Pisces or in Pisces, that will illuminate those things.
Yes, very good point. People have often said to me over the years, and being quite a watery person myself astrologically, plus other things too, of course, I've heard this comment made a number of times, like as a complaint in a way, like, oh, water signs are so secretive. You never know what's going on with them. They're so secretive, they keep everything hidden. And I've thought about that, and I thought, yeah, I can see why people would say that, but it's a natural inclination in the water signs. They're not naturally extroverted or exuberantly expressive unless they've got lots of air and fire in their chart. They're naturally going to be quiet. They're like water absorbs. They're paying attention. They're watching. They're feeling. They may or may not be judging. They're just naturally observing, feeling, tuning in and don't always have a lot to say. It's quite a natural thing, but to other people who are naturally extrovert and very expressive and communicative, it can feel like water people are very secretive. So yeah, it just depends where we're looking from, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, water people can hang out with each other and just be, they can lie on the beach and not say a word for hours, you know, with each other, you know, because there's no need very often with the water.
Yeah. Just be in the feeling.
That's right. So yeah, we all respond to different signs and elements differently. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring that in because I have heard that said quite often. Oh, they're so secretive.
Well, I have
Scorpio, absolutely, that might be true.
Yeah, and I think Cancerians are like that too. Not because they want to keep a secret, but just because they're living in their shell. You know, the crab in the shell.
That's right. It's more of an inward,
a private thing.
Yeah, it's an inward, more quiet, private thing. And when they're and often they will express more about what's going on in their inner life around certain people that they just feel a natural affinity with and an ease with. Like for water people, when there's a lot of water in someone's chart, if they're having, you know, a really nice, lovely, soft, intimate conversation with someone and someone else comes in who's very exuberant and full of life and, you know, the life of the party, you watch the water person, they'll just, like a fish, they'll just, or a crab, they'll just kind of close down because they feel like, whoa, that's completely sort of shattered the space that we were in.
Yeah.
It's all perspective, you know, it's all relative.
Yeah. So what else is happening in this cycle? Because I did read that, what is it? Neptune is 7 degrees from the full moon in Pisces. Is that right?
Yes. So Neptune is the main, well, there's actually 2 other planets that are having an impact on this full moon. Absolutely. Neptune is quite close to the moon. So Neptune is the ruling planet of Pisces. Neptune, Poseidon, the god of the seas and the oceans, is slowly moving through the sign of Pisces since 2012. And so this full moon, even in the night before the full moon on the morning of the 21st, that moon is going to absolutely join with Neptune. So, you know, here in Australia, most of us will be asleep, dreaming in the dream time. Neptune conjunct full moon in Pisces, how lovely. And then by the morning, she'll have moved a bit further from Neptune, but still quite close. So that kind of doubles that sense of hypersensitivity. If anyone's just gets a feeling of absolute overwhelm because perhaps just so much is happening, they feel like they're losing control, that's very understandable. And I think the best thing we can do in that situation is just stop trying to get everything done. You know, just put that aside, put that aside, put that aside. Deal with only what absolutely must be done in that situation. And I know that's not always easy, whatever the circumstances are, but it can feel very spiritually, this can be amazing. If anyone has the space and time and opportunity to just really stop and meditate or tune in or whatever is your natural spiritual practice, this energy is amazing for that. You know, you could easily open up into all sorts of transcendental states of consciousness, very easily. Bliss, ecstasy, all of that, you know, messages, information just pouring in, because that's actually what is happening. But, you know, in the physical realm can be a bit overwhelming. On the other side, close to the sun, which is always part of the full moon story, sun opposite moon, is Mars in very early Libra, but very close to the sun. So you've got this sun, Mars, Neptune, moon story going on. So that the Mars part of it is all the action and all the activities and like, oh, all these things are going on. On the other side is I can't cope with all of that. That's all. So it's a lot of energy going on here.
Yeah. It's like me, I overwhelm. I can't read another thing.
I know. It's
Can't read another news article or another this or another. Just
I know there's just information just pouring in from every direction. And I just quickly go through, I open, I see, okay, that. And every now and then I go, I'll check that one out. I cannot process
really
all of it.
funny, isn't it? Because it's like we're being drowning in information overload, and I just unplug for a day or two here and there,
That's right.
and then I just and it's like, and when I do that, it's like I'm coming up to the water surface and take a breath.
That's right. And I think that's the thing about Virgos. We have to be discriminating, and get a bit choosy and selective, and just really get our own sense of, there may be certain people we like to follow. Like I've got a couple that I always stop and listen and watch what they have to say. And then there's others I'm kind of scrolling through and just go, oh, yes, I get that's happening, blah, blah, blah. Move on. Got to be very discriminating, which Virgo helps us to do that.
We must be laying down a lot of new neural pathways.
Oh, my God, yes.
Our brain is expanding, although it's not coming out of our skull, but maybe it is leaking out.
I know, we're being stretched, aren't we? Like,
and informed, and
it's phenomenal.
Like, the things that I know now about government policies, like anything political, and constitutions and human rights and civil laws, like I didn't know that 18 months ago.
No, because schools got stopped teaching all of that stuff. We've all been deliberately uneducated, and that's right. Well, we're getting a massively accelerated education in so many areas. So it's fascinating, and I love it. But yeah, we've got to manage it, because it does impact our health.
Yes.
If it just gets it can be so stressful, which is very Virgo. So we've got to be kind to ourselves.
Yeah. You can only, fit a 4-year degree into 2 years for so long. I'm not saying anyone's got a degree, but you know what I mean.
No, that's right.
Level of information
that's right.
Study.
I felt like in the last 2 years, this has been my part-time job, unpaid job, That's right. We're doing a course of study, exactly. So on the 23rd then, the sun leaves Virgo and goes into Libra. Now, this always happens every year around. It can be the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. This is true every month. The sun will change signs around about the 20th, 21st, 22nd. That's why people, if they were born around those dates of any sign, they speak about being on the cusp. But astrologically, you can be very precise about whether it's that sign or that sign, because the date will vary from year to year, but it's always around then. So anyway, 23rd, the sun goes into Libra. And for those who like to have precision, here on the east coast of Australia, it's at 5:20 a.m. in the morning on the 23rd. And yes, it's significant every month when the sun changes sign, but when it goes into 0 degrees of one of the 4 cardinal signs, Libra, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, these are the 4 compass points of our year, the seasonal points, the spring equinox, autumn equinox, and the 2 solstices. So this for us, of course, marks the actual spring equinox. And in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the autumn equinox, when the daylight, when day and night are absolutely equal and in perfect balance and harmony, 12 hours day, 12 hours night, all over the globe. And it's very fitting, and of course, traditionally in earlier cultures, these were considered to be extremely important times of the year. Big celebrations and festivals and rituals would be performed. And, we've lost touch with all those natural cycles, and many people still work with them and, bring them back. So it's a real moment. Some say these points are really powerful portals. You can really work with them, meditate, tune in. And with Libra, it is about balance, harmony, peace, equilibrium.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. What a perfect time, for that solstice to happen right on that Libra point.
That's right. So You know, we touched on this a bit last time. I remember we talked a bit about Libra, you know, and Libra is really about that balance of opposites. I always say that to me, the yin yang symbol would be a perfect alternative symbol or image for the sign of Libra, because it really, and to me, traditional Chinese culture, and I'm not talking about, you know, political communist China, I'm speaking about the deep soul tradition of ancient China and the incredible wisdom and knowledge, to me is very Libra. And many people that I know who work with those Chinese traditions, such as Chinese medicine, Feng Shui, which are all about balance and harmony. That's the foundation of them. All the people I know, and I know quite a few who work with those things, all have strong Libra themes in their chart. It's a natural relationship with that idea of balance and harmony, and something's out of balance. How do you address that to bring it back into harmony?
Yeah, actually, my grandmother was a Libra. She had beautiful gardens.
Yes.
Inside the house was always like a display home.
Yes.
Everything had its place, and it was all about balance. And if something was out of place, it had lost that balance. It was almost like she was a natural feng shui person.
Exactly.
It just came naturally to her, you know.
Exactly.
And her garden was so beautiful. I mean, she could have gone into the open gardens
Yes.
displays that they have here. Yeah.
Yes, and it's there's this natural sense of design and beauty and harmony. So you see people in the fashion industry, interior designers, people who run art galleries, you know, hairdressers, makeup artists, all of those areas that are about beauty, because it's ruled by Venus, the goddess of beauty. And all those areas are governed by the sign of Libra. So when the sun goes into Libra, this is a wonderful time for those 4 weeks when all the Librans are having their birthdays to, you know, consider our lives and what's out of balance, what is in disharmony in our relationships, because it's also the primary relationship sign. It's all about harmony and disharmony in human relationships. And boy, oh boy, is that a theme on this planet.
Isn't it though? And I'm just thinking how much we need these calming waters of, you know, of Libra.
That's right.
We talked about the waters before and the rapids. We need that nice, smooth, glassy topped lake, don't we?
That's right. And you know, it's easy to think that beauty might be a superficial thing, and it can be, you know, it's just an obsession with how things look and the appearance, but deep down it's a truly deep sense of beauty as something sacred and healing and important. You know, and a lot of things in this world are actually quite ugly. In our physical and man-made environment, there's a lot of ugliness. There's a lot of ugliness in human relationships as well.
Yeah, I've just posted something on my Body Light Center Facebook page yesterday of 2 young men who are playing I think it's the cellos, and it's about it's actually, when you listen to it, it's about it's a story of a man who watched 20 people being blown up while he was just standing in a line to get some bread. This is, you know, years ago. I think it was the 1930s or so. I can't remember now. But the point is that, and after that happened, he would continue to stand outside in the rubble and play music to remind himself that there was still goodness in the world.
Yes.
The story's on the page if people want to have a look at the Body Light Center. And these 2 young artists today are continuing the tradition of that to continue the healing and to remind people in the world that there is still good things and beautiful things in the world. And this play that piece, I actually found myself relating to the beauty of healing.
Yes.
That was my point. There are so many things that are beautiful, physical things, but there are emotional things that are beautiful. Tapping into the sadness, going into the grief, and then moving through it, like when you cry and the tears, pH of the tears change, they move through. And then it was the beauty of coming out the other side and
Right.
feeling better. And I just think that's such a beautiful, beautiful process to watch.
Yes. Yes, and it's so important, and it's why we respond so much to the beauty of nature. You know, just the exquisiteness of the beauty of nature. It's such an important thing. This is a really valuable. It's also, because it's a sign of relationship, it's a wonderful time coming up for us to get together with friends to reaffirm relationships and connections, because there's a lot of disharmony that's been happening in our personal relationships, because, you know, Libra is the balance of opposites. And so, you know, we are taking a position with events that are unfolding in the world, you know, and there are opposing positions. And can we have opposing opinions and ideas with friends, family members, loved ones, and still somehow have a relationship with them? Sometimes that's not possible, and that's just how it is. But if it is possible, this is an opportunity for us to try and put, because, you know, Libra is a cardinal sign, and the cardinal signs are signs of action. So Libra is motivated to actively do something about that. It's not a passive energy, these cardinal signs. You know, it's that sense of, you know, I might have been feeling disconnected from a certain friend because we take a different point of view, but I really love that friend, and we've known each other for years, and might want to just reach out and say, hey, you want to meet for a coffee, and just to reconnect and reaffirm that relationship. And as I said, that may not be possible with everybody, but I think this is an opportunity for us to, you know, connect and come together, and also just to enjoy ourselves with our friends and people and loved ones and so on. And it's a social sign, it's an air sign. It will also highlight in general relationship issues, that is with, you know, partners and so on. It's very much that sign. And remember, we don't have to remember this, but Mars is in Libra now. So Mars is bringing quite a lot of energy to this sign. And so the sun's coming in on the 23rd, pardon me. Mars went in on the 15th and is there for 6 weeks through to the end of October. So Mars sometimes can stir up strife and conflict. He's in the Venus-ruled sign of Libra, a sign of harmony and balance.
So we've got push, pull, push, pull.
Absolutely. So there's a certain kind of discord already implied in that combination. And there will be, when does that happen? Yes, on the 7th of October. Is that correct? Yes, it is. On the 8th of October, Mars and the Sun will be conjunct. That is, faster moving Sun will actually catch up to Mars at 15 degrees of Libra. And that could be a few days when sparks are flying in relationships and so on. It can also be a few days when a lot is going on in the law courts, because a lot is currently going on in the law courts in Australia and around the world, because Libra is also a sign of law and justice. There's no mistake that outside all the law courts is the goddess of justice holding up the scales, which is a symbol for Libra.
Yeah.
So this is very real. And, you know, justice, because this is a sign that's about balance. Balance is like the key word of Libra, balance and harmony. And that includes in all of our human relationships and endeavors. So in the law courts, they are supposed to be about justice that brings things back into balance. If someone has done a wrong to somebody, the law courts adjudicate and decide there must be some kind of payment or consequence of that to bring things back into balance. But, you know, like all the systems on planet Earth over long periods of time, they've become quite, you know, corrupted and so on. So it's a bit of a minefield, but there is a lot going on, and there will be throughout this month of Libra, particularly with Mars come, because Mars is the planet of conflict and battle.
I just wanted to remind people watching too that while we talk about these things in like at a personal level, they can always be extrapolated out onto the world stage.
Yes.
So, you know, if I think that's really interesting to see, to keep an eye on those things too. I've just been blown away by how accurate and how the astrology is playing itself out on the world stage. Probably more than in my personal life, but little things happen in my personal life too.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, I think this is one of the reasons why most astrologers, not necessarily all, but most astrologers really keep an eye on what's going on in the world, because we are watching the astrology literally playing out. It's like, you know, the grand soap opera of all time, you know, watching all of these energies moving and how that's literally manifesting in what's going on all around the planet. It's fascinating and very, very illuminating. And interestingly enough, during the same period, so Mars is in a Libra sign, which is ruled by Venus. Venus is in a sign ruled by Mars, that is Scorpio. So these two planets, you know, the yang masculine energy of drive and action and conflict, which is Mars, is in a Venus sign, and Venus, which is all about harmony and beauty and the feminine and love, is in a Mars sign. So they're both in signs that are not their natural domain, and they're both about this realm of the masculine and feminine. That can be literally extrapolated out to just a simple thing of man and woman, and the relationship between the masculine principle and the feminine principle, and they're in each other's sign. So there's a lot of stuff going on here that's not easy, actually. Planets struggle a bit when they're not in a sign that's a natural domain for them.
So on a personal level, people could be having that inner conflict, inner turmoil, where they may be going with the female energy of nurturing and caring and kindness, and the masculine energy is more warring and can be aggressive, and they both
wants action.
It's action, and they can both be used positively and negatively.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one way you could say that is, you know, Mars and Libra is bringing actual action to areas of relationship, and is actively wanting to bring harmony and justice, and that can be a positive thing. Venus in a Mars sign, she's bringing perhaps a softer energy of their heart into a sign that's, you know, Scorpio is very intense. So Venus is in Scorpio from the 11th of September through to the 7th of October. So there's actually a 3-week period from the 15th of September through to the very end of October, the 31st. Oh, no, sorry, wrong dates. Scrap what you just wrote down. From the 7th of October, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Scrap it.
From the 7th of October, no. I'll say this again. From now.
Is that Piscean energy making a big...
Yeah, that's right. Like, duh. From now to the 7th of October, for 3 weeks, Venus and Mars are in each other's sign. They're both doing this kind of counterbalance thing, counterpoint thing with each other. So that can really activate and stir up quite a lot of dynamics in people's personal relationship. And that includes same-sex relationships, because there's always yin-yang principles playing out in whatever the relationship is. There's always those dynamics playing out, always. Between that yin-yang masculine and feminine principle.
It's just I'm just trying to imagine how that would play out. You know, it could be, it's moments of tumultuousness and broached by calmness and
Yes.
again, back to those rappers.
Yes.
It's a rough patch and then it's smooth. There's a rough patch and it's smooth again.
That's right. So there can be, periods when there's deep love and connection, and all of a sudden something happens and it's sparked off again, a conflict. Or so I think it can be a time for a lot of couples, for example, and just relationships in general, even with friends, where a lot of things might get brought to the surface, potentially resolved one way or another. One way or another, so the relationship goes on deeper and stronger, or it's like, I can't do this anymore with you. That could absolutely be unfolding for some people, because everybody's under quite a lot of pressure these days, just in general. There's a lot, and that puts a lot of pressure on people's personal relationships, particularly if there's strong disagreement about very important issues.
Now, Libra is I think we've spoken about this before, but they're usually quite good at diplomacy.
Very.
And also mediation and those sorts of things. So hopefully that will come to play.
Yes. They make fantastic counselors, especially relationship counselors. They're just naturally able to listen to both and help the two warring parties, if you like, to understand each other, not necessarily to stay together, but just to work through, resolve, understand, process whatever's going on. So I would say the marriage guidance counselors, relationship counselors are probably pretty busy.
Yes.
Let's just leave that. And look, also on the 23rd, when the sun goes into Libra, the relationship sign, Venus herself, which rules Libra, in Scorpio, will be in opposition to Uranus on the day of the solstice. Now, that's a classic transit that can really cause, ruptures and disruption and breaking in relationship dynamics. It's really going to strain things, it's often, people will often experience this as, I've got to get out of here. I need my freedom. I can't do this. Bang, gone. And it can happen very quickly. But of course, it's always been a build-up. Things have led up to that moment. So
watch for that on the world stage too.
Exactly. Exactly. See what's going on in the dynamics between people, because on the one hand, it looks like a large percentage of world leaders are all kind of following the same story, being directed by other forces above them to play out a certain scenario. But there are signs, and it makes sense in human life, that even amongst all those leaders, there will be conflicts and battles and, behind closed doors that we're not privy to.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're likely to see a few ruptures going on in relationships in the public arena, I would say, around the time of this full moon solstice, around those days. It's a lot of energy.
And with that, in opposition to Uranus, because Uranus is very, we've talked about this before about we the people. We the people are looking on, watching
we are
conditions, and there could be some more calling out than what's been going on,
it seems to be accelerating, doesn't it, that calling out? Yeah.
It does, I don't know whether it's algorithms in social media or news articles that I'm reading that I'm seeing more of that, or if it actually is actually happening. But there does seem to be, what I have noticed is a quietening of people who are opposing the world situation in how the pandemic's being managed, to that sort of that, let me put it this way, people who are agreeing with the status quo of how the pandemic's being managed. I'm actually seeing a little less of that and a little more of people saying this is wrong, These are the facts. You need to wake up and look at this sort of information. These people are lying to you about this, that, and the other, whatever it is. There seems to be more of that going on that I'm noticing, you know.
I am too. It feels like a lot more people are standing up and pushing back. And I think one of the reasons for that is that the issues are coming closer and closer to home. People's jobs are on the line. People having to make huge choices, which has a huge implication on their work, their employment, their income, their ability to provide for themselves and their families. Like, that's very real when it comes to your front door like that.
Yeah,
it's no longer abstract, is it? It's real.
And this,
it's in your own personal domain.
And this is that sorting of the chaff from the wheat about people. Actually, when it affects us personally, it's easy to sort of stand back and go, oh, that's happening over there, or it's happening here, not affecting me. But when it starts to affect us, then it's like the closer that gets to home, the more people, they're being put under pressure to make a choice.
That's right.
And that's the sorting process. And it's like asking themselves, what do I stand for?
That's right.
That's the mirror being held up to us, is what do I stand for? Do I stand for this, or do I stand for that, or that, or that, you know?
That's right. That's right. And that's, you know, that's a Libran process too. Like in the past, over the years, I've often worked with what I call experiential astrology, where I put the circle of the zodiac on the floor and someone can actually stand in there with planets and so on in their own chart and actually directly engage with the energy, and they discover what they go, oh my God, this is da-da-da-da-da. And it always makes me smile when I think of it. So often if someone stands in Libra because they've got planets in Libra, their body will literally go, oh, like they, you know, our bodies start to speak and respond to the energy that they're feeling. And there's this, yes, well, on the one hand, it's like, but then on the other hand, so that's what happens in Libra. We're having to, this is the justice thing, you know, we're having to weigh up this side. On the one hand, if I make that choice, that will happen. If I make that choice, that will happen. And sometimes it can feel like we're between a rock and a hard place. You know, either choice is a tough one. But, and that's, I think, Mars is here. Mars says, yes, you have to make a choice, make it. Yeah. Mars doesn't dilly-dally around. Make your choice. Yes. Stand for what is true for you.
I'm actually getting another image of the Egyptians with the choice chamber with the heart and the feather on the scales, you know.
Exactly.
And if it didn't weigh up, there was a little, I forget what it was, that can't remember, but anyway, it was a dog's shape.
The Cerebus, was it? Oh, that's in Greek, I think it was.
Yeah, no, I can't remember now, but ready to gobble up the heart if it didn't weigh up properly. And if it did, well, he went on to the afterlife. You know?
Exactly. And that's why these choices are actually a soul choice. It's are we going to resonate with our soul and be true to our soul, or we're going to be swayed by external factors and fear and anxiety and so on. And to me, that's a big. This is at the heart of what's going on planet Earth. You know, spiritually, we're all having to have a reckoning with ourselves and get very clear about, on a soul level, who we are and what we stand for and why we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless of what the world is telling us.
Yeah, and regardless of what's in play, whether it's a pandemic or not, it could be something else that's happened, you know.
That's right.
Saying to ourselves, well, what do we stand for?
That's right. So this is a kind of a weighing up period, and Mars is here, so he's demanding action. Now there's more, because there's always more. We're nearly out of time, but I have to get this in because on the 27th, I feel like saying, warning, warning, Mercury will turn retrograde, and I can hear a collective groan go around, you know, like, oh God, not again.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
No, danger, danger. Danger, Will Robinson. So, I mean, it's not dangerous at all, but, you know, we just sort of go, oh God, here we go again. Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year. And of course, he's going to do it this time in Libra because he's moving through Libra now. So the sun comes into Libra, Mars is already here, Mercury is already here. And on the 27th, he gets to 25 degrees of Libra, almost made it out, but not quite, stops, turns back, and it gets back to, I think it was about 5 or 10 or something. I can't remember the exact. Anyway, but he goes back through the sign of Libra. So Mercury retrograde, yes, there's always glitches with technology, back up your files, everybody, sort yourself out, do all those things. And usually, in my experience, something goes wrong with technology, and Mercury retrograde often costs me money.
Oh.
Because something needs repairing or something breaks down and you have to buy a new one. That's a very common thing.
Yeah, or read contracts carefully.
Very carefully. Avoid, if you can, signing important contracts. If you do, get other people to check and double check, ask questions, get very clear about what you're doing, because it can be a little problematical during Mercury. It's real. So Mercury retrograde is also highlighting this whole theme we're talking about with Libra. And so even though, yes, the full moon's in Pisces Virgo, it's right at the end of that sign. And then we move into this Libra theme, which is very much the predominant theme. Now, Mercury turns retrograde at 25 degrees within a very close square to Pluto at 24 of Capricorn. So we've got a few weeks ahead of us, through the rest of this month and into next month, that are quite strong. A lot is going to happen. And, I can hear people saying, oh, not again, not still. Like, yes, it's just this story continues to unfold in our own world, in the external. So Mercury retrograde is a time when we go back over information. We return, we revise, we reevaluate, we rethink, we reassess. And so old information, old connection, people from our past, especially in Libra, come up, themes, issues from the past. We're going back over material. And I think at a deeper level, what that's about is we're having, as we were saying earlier, we're receiving so much information. We are processing so much. This can be an opportunity to digest some of that.
Yeah.
Take a bit of time to maybe slow down a bit, and maybe some of the posts or the information that came to you, maybe about legal matters or constitutional matters or whatever, contractual matters, you didn't take the time to read through and actually digest. This might be a good opportunity to do that. I think I need to go back to that thing that I saved, sit down and actually go through it so that I really understand it and get it. It can be challenging in relationships, Mercury retrograde in Libra, but we've already spoken of that with Mars here.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Mercury, excuse me, about communication, but in Libra, could it be about, could we reflect or reassess how we have communicated to other people?
Yes.
Maybe I could do better.
Yes.
That sort of thing. Maybe there's some areas where I can improve in my communication to others.
Exactly. And asking the other, look, I realize I said something to you. Did that hurt you? Perhaps, I'd like to talk about it, or I feel like I misunderstood what you were saying. Can we talk about it some more? Or when you're sharing something with someone, perhaps, do you get what I'm saying? And like really go deep and have a deep, meaningful conversation about like somebody I know is very passionate about this idea of, with friends who might be taking an opposing position, not wanting to force her idea down someone else's throat, but actually really wants to have a conversation to understand where the other person is coming from. Not everybody wants to do that.
No.
But she does, and she's feeling quite hurt and frustrated by this lack of opportunity to actually sit and hear and listen and, can you understand where I'm coming from? I want to understand where you're coming from. That's how real relationship and connection can form. We're not always good at that.
No. And I think that's why, particularly in social media, that a lot of things have just blown up because these are not, a lot of people are not good close friends. Our good close friends we see face to face.
That's right.
We spend time with them, you know.
We spend time, that's right, to really kind of really connect and understand. That's right.
So I think that's why there's been a lot of arguments on social media about various positions people take on what's going on the planet. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So, and then, you know, coming up, so around these first 2 weeks of October are very strong, and we'll look more at that next time. But just, you know, to finish, the new moon on the 6th is at 13 degrees of Libra, and it's exactly conjunct that Mars. So we'll definitely talk about that next time. Then on the 8th, on the 10th, sorry, on the 8th and 10th, around those days just after the new moon, there is a Sun, Mars, Mercury retrograde conjunction around 15, 16 of Libra.
On the 10th?
Oh, yes. So, and then the day after that, Saturn turns. So Saturn will be stationary at that time as well in Aquarius and will turn direct again. So there's a lot of strong energies at play.
Coming our way.
Coming our way. And of course, Pluto goes direct on the 7th. So these are very powerful themes, and really from now through to the end of the year. Of course, then after Libra we go into the Scorpio period, and from now till the end of the year, as we build up to the last Saturn-Uranus square at the end of December, it is strong. And you've just got to look at what's going on in the world. We know that without even knowing the astrology, actually.
Yes.
There is a great deal, a lot will happen between now and the end of the year, and the opposing forces, if you like, these tectonic forces and pressures are just getting stronger and stronger as they push up against each other. It's huge. And if we can use the Libra energy as much as we can to bring our consciousness to a state of equilibrium, like where's the center point inside myself?
Yes.
You know, that fulcrum in the middle, as these energies move, where's my own deep inner center? That's, I think, the big message for this period.
I was thinking yesterday about how what we're going through now, and we will move through it and continue to move through it. There will be we'll get to some sort of point where will just gently soften off, because the world can't keep going the way it is.
That's right.
You'll end in war, basically.
That's right. So something will have to give, something will have to move to, yes.
And I was thinking about how it was for people after World War II. After we had this tumultuous year of war and peril and fear and angst and anger, and very much like what a lot of people are going through right now.
That's right.
When that came to an end, it was then the healing started. And I really sincerely believe that after this peters out, and it will, that there will be a need for a lot of healing.
A great deal.
Because a lot of traumas occurred. But I feel there will also be a real inner need for people to want peace.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I feel hopeful about the future, however far it is down the track.
That's right.
That we don't know. But I feel that it's been on a global scale, not like World War II. It was happening with different countries. It was global, but not really.
Right. But there were specific areas where it was taking place. This is truly a world war that we are in, even though it's not manifesting in the way we normally think of a war, but it is. And you're right, it could at some point manifest into the outward expression of war at some point, or in certain areas. That well could be the case. We don't know. I think there are a lot of possible ways, depending on how we human beings move through this on a conscious level.
Yeah. So something to think about.
Indeed.
Thank you, Babula, for all your knowledge and wisdom once again.
Very welcome. It's a pleasure.
It's been wonderful for you to share it with me and with others. And we will be back in another couple of weeks to talk about the next lunar cycle as we continue to chase the star trails into the age of Aquarius.
Yes, we will.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.